What do we do after we've done the bid sheet and we're calling the motivated seller back? What kinds of questions do we ask? And how do I tell if I should go and look at the property? So, a couple things that I kind of want to lay out here is when I first got started, I looked at about 20% of the properties that I got a phone call on. And after a while, I got to where I'm going to look at about 80% of my properties because I believe in selling in your on your feet, not in your seat. I believe in going and talking to the individual face to face and understanding where they're coming from. So, for example, if I get a missed call, I'm going to call them and get information right away. So I'm going to call them, but as soon as I get the notification from line 2 stating that I've gotten a message, I'm going to text them right away. And I'm going to say something like, "Hey, I'm sorry I missed your call. I'm actually in a meeting. Can I call you in the next 30 minutes or the next hour?" And then 30 minutes to an hour from now, you need to be calling them and following up with them. I have learned over time that the more you follow up by text, the better off you are at a phone call and a site visit. When I first got started, that's all we did was phone calls. But I do probably 60%, if I was going to put a percentage on it, with a text message. As a matter of fact, I've set up several site visits over text, and I've never talked to the motivated seller. Again, I believe that you can get a lot farther face to face than you can over the phone. So the main goal with the bid sheet is to understand your position, but also to set up a site visit. So when you go look at the property, you can negotiate with that motivated seller on that property, and we'll get to that later. But let's put this in a couple different scenarios. So let's say you're talking to that motivated seller, you're building rapport. Again, my definition of rapport is finding something in common to build trust on. Now I'm going back and forth with this motivated seller. I'm talking about hobbies, I'm talking about family, talking about work, talking about the weather, whatever, sports, whatever I can find something in common to build that trust on. And then after a while, I start to get comfortable, and I'm going to ask him, "Mr. Motivated Seller, what kind of price are you looking for that property?" If he tells you anything in the sweet spot, so that is between the low bid, which is zero in your mind, whether it's 28,750 or 280,750, it's always zero, and the high bid, we're going to automatically set up a site visit. So I'm going to say that again. If it's anywhere in that sweet spot, from zero to the high bid, we're automatically going to set up a site visit. Because we are to the point that we should be able to make some money, and a lot of things will become clear face to face with that motivated seller. Now, I kind of use this high bid number kind of like a fulcrum. It's kind of my, whether or not I'm going to go look at the property by the questions that I ask. So the closer to the high bid we get, the more questions I ask. I oftentimes get asked, "What kinds of questions do you ask?" Well, I do have a site visit worksheet on the training materials that the bottom half of the first page, I've laid it out in the most important. This site visit worksheet is what I take with me when I go look at a property. It helps me in my ads. It helps me in talking to the cash buyers. And honestly, I use it when I'm buying my own properties because then I don't forget to look at things. But if you look, the first 3 or 4, what's the condition of the roof? What's the condition of the siding? What's the condition of the windows? Heating and cooling, electrical. We're going to talk about the big ticket items. So let's say that motivated seller says he wants $70,000. I'm going to ask more questions. I want to justify that price and understand why he's asking what he's asking. So if he tells me that the roof's in good shape, the siding's in good shape, windows are pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and set up that site visit because I've taken those big ticket items away and I have every intention to go look and first of all to see if that seller said the truth and to look at it with my own eyes so that I can decide if their price is going to fit. Now, if he's really close to the comp, I always say closer to the comp, less money to make. I mean, if they're close to the comp, whether it's below or above, I may argue with you on some of the properties that you're going to negotiate on, but I would say anything from this subtotal, actually a little bit less. So looking at this bid sheet, probably in that $80,000, $82,000 mark, I probably wouldn't go look at the property unless it's fully lived in and fully rented or fully rented. I probably wouldn't go look at the property. But there are some different scenarios that would make me want to go look. Again, 80% of the properties that I get calls on, I go look at. If it is close to the comp and I'm just hearing that it's not going to work, it doesn't mean that the lead is dead. So I would say something like, Mr. Motivated Seller, I'm sure you've got a great property there, but with the health of the neighborhood and the condition of the property, it's just outside of my comfort zone of what I'm willing to spend according to my formula. But if it's all right with you, I'd like to follow up with you in 30 days or so and see if your position or my position, for that fact, may change and we can do business at that time. So we want to get off the phone, but we want to open the window or the door, whatever you want to call it, of being able to follow up with them. We work very, very hard for all the leads we get. Let's not burn them. So it's super important to ask the right questions. We want to justify the price, but we also want to justify the site visit. Please understand, I'm not saying we're going to justify it. We're going to get picky. First of all, we're green, very novice investors. The best way to learn is to get out there in the field and look at properties and to talk to motivated sellers and to build relationships. It's those relationships that will get you rentals and flip properties for next to nothing to where the seller is financing it for you until you sell it. That's the kind of properties that we go after through those relationships. I do not believe in not building relationships. We are in the relationship business. That's how we build this business. It takes time. It's worth the time because your reputation and your consistency will get you there. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, talk to your coach. In the Step 3 training, you'll go over that in great detail. Otherwise, happy investing.